Yes, hello, folks. Welcome to Beyond the Pitch Weekly Manchester United show. I'm joined here, as always, with my regular co-host, the magnificent Martin Walwork, and fantastic to have for the first time on the show, on the Weekly United show, the brilliant Paul Bright. Of course, Paul's the UEFA A licensed coach, ex-Manchester United Academy coach, worked for Everton in England as well. Paul's going to join us here to discuss some of the things that's going on in United's academy, and we'll talk a wee bit about the United match today. So, first of all, how's things, boys?
All good, my end, mate. Right, how about you?
Good. Yeah, all good. Good to be on the show for the first time, so thanks for the invite.
Yes, mate. Wear makeup next time, will you? Or you get one of them big screen masks. All seriousness. Big win today for United, 3-0 away at Leicester. We'll start there before we get into the academy, mate. Paul, first question goes to you, mate, because when I looked at United today, two central strikers essentially is what it looked like on paper, the way they started. I wonder when I looked at the lineup, with Michael Carrick being left out, United expected to dominate possession. You'll see in a lot of previous games, United take Carrick off at half-time in games they dominate where they don't feel like they need to hold a midfielder. I also feel that if you look at Leicester, Drinkwater knocks the ball long, still over the top for Jamie Vardy, bypasses the midfield. And maybe he felt that Ibrahimovic was a wee bit isolated at times in previous games. But in practice, Rashford ended up going out left, out wide. What did you see that happened in that game?
In terms of the lineup, like you say, on paper it looked like a 4-4-2 with Rashford and Ibra up front, but many times it became a 4-3-3 almost, with Rashford veering off to the left and Mkhitaryan on the right, if you like, and becoming that second striker, but on the right side of the pitch. What that allowed United to do is try and break down that low block. I think they knew how Leicester were going to set up, and they did it all last season, but they did it to great effect where they had a low block and they broke quickly, and they had Vardy, who was on fire last season and was getting in and scoring goals. So you've got to find ways to switch the ball and create those overloads and drag them out of position to play. And United, I thought United's rotation and movement was really good today. Frustrating for the first 20, 30 minutes, I thought, with Leicester obviously straight into the game and trying to get at them. But I thought it was just a matter of time before they broke them down.
What do you see, Martin?
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting to see exactly how they lined up, because at times also it became, for me, a 4-4-1-1 when Rashford did stay high and Ibra dropped into the 10 like he often likes to do. And I think half our problem recently has been he's just been so isolated up top. So adding Rashford in there, but at one point I look up, we see Ibra and Rashford out left, Mickey on the right, Mickey sliding inside, Mata sliding out right. So it became a very fluid approach to the game. Obviously, like you said, first 20, 30 minutes there, it was just a little strange. But playing that new system probably took a little bit getting used to, finding our targets and knowing exactly where to go into and what spaces to occupy. But all in all, once we got in the groove there, I thought it was a pretty good performance, really, albeit against a very poor Leicester team.
Very poor Leicester team. First 20 minutes. It always surprises me when I see certain United fans moaning, because I sometimes wonder what it is you expect to be United. Everybody knows this is not a complete Manchester United team. Everybody knows this is a Manchester United team that needs work. Everybody knows that. Yeah, with United, you can't come out and expect them to be the complete team. Paul, question to you: what are United missing?
For me, I'm looking at that, and I want Pogba freed up more. I want him on the ball 15, 20 yards further up the field, because he could be devastating against opposition teams. At the minute, he likes to drop deep and get it, and I think when Carrick sits there and does that job, it's great for Pogba because he can get a bit more advanced and get on the ball. It's a shame Carrick isn't 5, 6 years younger, and it'd be ideal. But also, I think as a man, watching Manchester United and being involved with the club, it was always that quick, explosive, dynamic, attacking team. So Rashford for me is a breath of fresh air. But you've also got Jesse Lingard on the bench. Martial, I know people have questioned him, but he's got real pace, and And you look at the United teams who've had the success over the last few years, and they always had those players who, from back to front, soon as transition to attack occurs, they're gone, they're off, and nobody's catching them. And I think at times United have looked a bit laboured. You look at Hull midweek and they're hitting long balls up to Ibrahimovic, and like Martin and yourself said, he's getting isolated. And I think they corrected that today. We're getting bodies around him, and Huth and Morgan are always going to compete in the air, but we can start dragging them out of positions and getting runners off that. So I think there's players in that team who just need a good run, and Mourinho probably needs to work out what is the best fit against certain oppositions and stick with that. What do you think, Martin?
Well, that's it, Paul. I mean, you look at that today, I mean, you hit it exactly the same way I was looking at it with Pogba. I mean, in that formation today, Pogba ends up sitting deeper again. Yeah. Up until later in the game, when obviously game's won and he frees himself up a little bit. Early in the season, we saw that same problem. He went back to Carrick in that holding midfielder, which really freed him up, which got him 20, 30 yards further up the pitch. And that's when we started to click. So if in terms of what are we missing, I mean, it's obviously going to be that holding midfielder, someone to sit in there that can release Pogba further forward. But, it's going to take some juggling around and figuring out what exactly is the best formation for each game, because you can't do everything. If we're going to play that 4-4-2, then where does Pogba fit in that 4-4-2? Because that's not an ideal formation for him individually. Yeah. Maybe in a diamond, that would fit him, but we know we want to play with width. So something's going to have to give. But on today's viewing, Mkhitaryan has to play, doesn't he? I mean, he changes the speed of the game going forward. He knows when, he can slow it down when we want, but he's got that turn of pace. And we saw for the goal there, how dangerous he can be in them inside positions.
Let me ask you about Rashford, a player you know well, Paul. You coached Rashford at the Manchester United Academy when you were there. You've known him a long, long time. From what I understand, Rashford wasn't a standout talent when he was a kid, so his emergence has been somewhat of a surprise. When he played down the middle last season, he was magnificent, scored goals. He's being played on the left, for me, not scoring as many goals, learning from Ibrahimovic. He has the pressure taken off him while having other people score goals, but his direct run and his pace frightens the life out of players. Would you say Rashford's made progress this season, or are you disappointed with how he's looked this season?
No, I think he's been fantastic, if I'm honest. 19 years old, contributing to goals, linking up and learning from someone like Ibrahimovic. I worked with him years ago in the foundation phase when he was just a baby, and you don't know what these lads are going to go on and do. But one thing, what epitomises those young lads at Manchester United is the game understanding, in terms of they recognise certain things in the game. You can see that natural ability, as well as the coaching and the nurturing what's going to take place. But also with the young lads, and I think this has been Manchester United's staple over the years, is they understand what the club's about. Mm-hmm. When it doesn't matter if it's Manchester United's first team or the U10s, when an opposition plays Manchester United, the opposition are going to give 110%. The parents are going to be up for it. The players,
at all levels,
at every level. Everyone wants to beat Manchester United. Let's have it right. So the first tick in the box for a young player who's playing at Manchester United is, can you deal with that pressure? Can you deal with when opposition teams at all ages, when Crewe Alexandra come to us, when Bolton Wanderers come to us, they want to beat Manchester United at all age groups, so they can go and tell their friends at school, and the parents can tell their work colleagues. It's having that mental toughness, but also recognising what the club means. And when you've got, Rashford's a Wivenshaw lad, you've got Jess Hughes, a Warrington lad, they recognise what the club's about because they live in and around the city, and they know what it means to the fans and to the families as well. There's other lads in there, so we've talked about it before, me, you and Martin. Progress is never linear. He's now not an unknown quantity in the Premier League, Rashford, so they're going to do a job on him. They're going to try and keep him outside because he likes to come in on the left when he does end up in those positions. And he gets some great shots off, by the way, by coming in off the line and firing in at that near post. I think, was it Schmeichel pulled off a great save?
Oh, it's a wonderful
again,
save.
Yeah, at the near post. So So he's now not an unknown quantity. So the second season for a young player is probably always the hardest because you burst on the scene. Now they've got your number in terms of let's see if we can quieten him down a bit. So Rashford's played through the England setups through the youth setups. He's a great player, and he's got pace, he's got aggression as well, and great technical and tactical ability. So.
And you still see the fun thing to watch is you still see that rawness as well.
Yeah.
That little bit of youth is still there, and wrong decisions at wrong times, and but it's that rawness that I love, and you can see that he's still got quite a ways to go to fulfill the obvious potential that he has.
Well, you're talking about a teenager here, right? And people forget that Ronaldo didn't start becoming, and by no means am I comparing him to Cristiano Ronaldo, I'm just using this purely as an example, but Ronaldo didn't start becoming a prolific goal scorer at United until he was 23. And he came off the wing, expecting this kid to deliver week in, week out, score goals at a level that is not realistic for a 19-year-old. Is really unfair. You said something there, Paul, that I want to touch on because this is really interesting. You talk about the attitude of a United player having to deal with the constant pressure of delivering every week and dealing with everybody wants to beat you. Jose Mourinho said something this week that was really, really interesting. And I think this relates to the situation that Luke Shaw finds himself in. This relates to the situation that Anthony Martial finds himself in. Mourinho said he doesn't have enough winners in the dressing room. There's not enough players in that dressing room left over from when United were constantly winning trophies. Do you have concerns about people like Luke Shaw? And I'll ask this question to both of you. Do you have concerns about Luke Shaw and Anthony Martial having the attitude of desperate winners every week, to turn it on every week and do everything that a winner needs to do, rather than of one good game, one bad game, it's okay? Is that something Mourinho's trying to fix at Old Trafford, and is that something you'll have concerns with Shaw, Martial? You go ahead first, Paul. Martin, you finish on it, mate.
Well, there's a famous quote, or I don't know how famous it is, but Fergie was once asked, how do you create a successful side? He said, sign bad losers. Mm-hmm. It can be as simple as that. Mm-hmm. Sign guys who want to leave everything out on the pitch. And I don't want to stress as if it's blood, guts and thunder, because the game is technically and tactically miles ahead of where it's been in the last 20, 30, 40 years. But there's got to be an element of sometimes you've got to roll your sleeves up and earn the right to play. Players like Roy Keane, Gary Neville, Nicky Butt, they wanted the best out of each other and themselves and would give everything. You sign bad losers, you've got a chance. You've obviously got to have the technical and tactical ability to play for Manchester United.
Well, yeah, and at this point, if I'm Luke Shaw and Marcus Rojo's playing at left back over me, and then he's bringing Daley Blind on, then I'd be very concerned. There's something seriously not right there, because to me, a 75% fit Luke Shaw is more agile than 100% Marcus Rojo at left back. He's very unconvincing in there, so there's definitely a situation there where, and that could just be it. The old "I've made it" syndrome, in it. I've got the big move, and I'm not doing all those things that got me to that level. And then with Martial, there's a touch of the Mkhitaryan about it. I think Mourinho, I was just reading here, he said afterwards, addressing Mkhitaryan, that sometimes the best way to protect them is to not play them. Now, was that a little indirectly, a dig at Martial too? These guys are going to have to learn, or they're going to be shipped out pretty quickly here. I'd be worried for my future if I was Luke Shaw, for sure.
Look, Manchester United cannot coddle players. Rio Ferdinand brought this up, where he was concerned about United becoming a bit Arsenal. Well, we all know at Arsenal, they don't have that desire to win. When do Arsenal ever win big games? I knew they'd get beat against Chelsea this weekend. You know how to beat Arsenal. Look at two of the goals they conceded. Hector Bellerin didn't want the ball bad enough. Hazard pushed Coughlin off, bounced off, walked through the Arsenal defence and scored. If you give them the ball, some lovely players, skillful, technically very good, but they don't have that desire, that hunger that comes with being habitual winners. That's what Mourinho's been really good at creating at all his football clubs, and it doesn't matter who you are. It's very, very important Mourinho develops that attitude at Old Trafford that, you might have the talent, but if you don't have what it takes to be a winner every week, you don't have a future at this football club. We know when you look back at the last 3 years under Moyes and under Van Gaal, there was times the players down tools. I don't care what anyone says. There was times when those players looked at their manager and said, "Nah, we'll get him a sack because we're not going." Mourinho has to fix that. I support him 100% in the way he's treating Martial, in the way he's treated Luke Shaw, and the way he treated Mkhitaryan, and his response to that is exactly what those players need to do to win their place back. Paul, let me ask you about the academy really quick, mate. We've talked about Rashford coming through. We've seen Fosu coming through. Bright young talent. Tonozebe come on in the FA Cup. You worked in the academy for years. What anything United fans should be excited about?
Yeah, always. It's Manchester United. You know, we're still attracting some of the biggest and best talent in the UK and Europe. Obviously, the dynamics even in Manchester have changed now with the other half of the city, and they're making a big impression. But it's Manchester United. Young players still want to play for Manchester United. I actually watched Tuanzebe at the recent England under-20s fixtures. They played against the USA, they played against Germany, they played against Netherlands. And I thought he was excellent in that holding midfield role. He played for it with England. And him, Patrick Roberts and Dominic Solanke, for me, were the three standouts in that England under-20 squad. I was really impressed with Tuanzebe. But I don't think, again, with some of these young players in the academy, some of them now are not unknown quantities, and the pressure's on. You know, people have already talking about Angel Gomez, another, you know, Salford lad, father who's got a history in the game, Portuguese. You've got Callum Gribbin, another local lad, Josh Harrop. You know, these lads, some of them are already known names. Roshan Williams, who was at Fletcher Moss, has come right through the system. But it's that next step, you know. And there's guys who they bring in. I think people were mentioning the Dutch kid. Is it Choi?
Chong,
Chong, sorry, from Feyenoord. The same happened with Januzaj. You know, every club in Europe at 16 years old were chasing Adnan Januzaj. Barcelona, AC Milan, Real Madrid. They all wanted Januzaj. United got him. Did he fulfil his potential? It's all right having an it. And Martin touched on it great again. It's that work ethic and what are you going to do pushing forward, Martin? What you've seen them come through as well. You've seen that sort of level.
Well, and that's it. And you know, sad thing is, a lot of that stuff isn't coachable though.
Yeah,
you know, there is some players that you can bring it out of, but there's also a vast majority they either have it or they don't. You know, are they satisfied once they get there? And you know, it's becoming obvious that some of these kids who fall by the wayside obviously get too comfortable too quickly and stop doing the things that got them to that level. So you know, some of the names you touched on there, and we've got Indy Boonen as well. Another good one coming through, but you just never know. Making that next step is the key, and then working even harder once you get there.
Let me ask you about Ravel Morrison, because Ravel Morrison, I think he's on trial at Reading with Jaap Stam. They were looking at him. Magnificent talent. Another player where attitude was an issue, and perhaps some of Ravel's upbringing didn't help. What do you rate Ravel Morrison, Paul, in relation to all the kids that you've worked with at Old Trafford?
Ravel is one of the most talented players I've ever seen. Full stop. He's got real ability. He goes past players like they're not there. You watch him in some of the highlights from the FA Youth Cup run they went on when basically against Liverpool, you know, he single-handedly beat Liverpool in the FA Youth Cup run. But he also had great players around him. Pogba, Ryan Tunnicliffe, real strong player. Tunny for me was an excellent player. Ravel is up there, and it's I think Martin again said about it's not coachable. It's kid gloves. I know Manchester United did everything in their power to try, and you know Fergie was a huge advocate of him, and they did everything in their power to try and keep him in that frame. I still think he's got a great chance in the game.
Would you take a chance on him? Would you take a chance on him?
100%. A couple of years ago in England, I think it was it the Euros, or it might have even been the World Cup. I'd have took him then, just to say he's one of those players who he's got something natural. He's got something what again he's uncoachable in terms of his understanding of the game and on the pitch. I'd have took him with the England first team squad if I was the England manager a couple of years back and just gone, you know what, let's big his ego a bit. And it's one of these. When he walks in the dressing room door, you tell him, you're my star man. And when he walks out, you said to all the lads, listen, I'm just telling him he's my star man, because if we get the best out of him, then it's going to help the whole team. So it's psychological as well. It's a bit of kid gloves. He's an unbelievable talent. You know, he is. He really is. I just hope he finds the right. I believe Warren Joyce was interested in taking him out across to Wigan as well. I just hope
he moves on trial. Actually,
I hope he finds the right club and gets that right support and management around him, because he's a real talent. And you know, some of the best players ever to have graced the game were Mavericks. What's the problem with Mavericks? That's what I'm going to say. It's look after the guys. Look after him.
I think he was at Wigan a week.
Okay.
I think George.
They said they were giving a contract at the end of the season in the morning.
Not what I read was he lasted a week, and Joyce was just not doing it. It just seemed like he's not changing.
Martin, Paul, you may not know the answer to this question, but this is curious. How will Brexit affect academies in the UK? Do you see a much more focus on young English talent? Will it help English talent?
No. There's so much money at stake now, and there's a lot of academies who up to 16 are investing in the local talent, and the EPPP has freed it all up, where in the past you used to
explain the EPPP.
So the Elite Player Performance Plan is the administrative and auditing tool for the Premier League and linking into the football leagues. And before the EPPP, it used to be you could only recruit players up to U12 from like 60 minutes travelling time, and then U12 to 16, 90 minutes. So basically, you was getting your hand forced to recruit locally and within your parameters. Now that's gone. They can free them up, and the compensation packages has also changed. In the past, if you wanted to sign a young player from an academy, so if Manchester United wanted to take a young boy from Oldham or Bury, then it's you either agree a fee or they go to a tribunal and will agree a fee. Now those fees are set. They actually go in the favour of the big clubs, if I'm honest, because the fees are nowhere near what they were. But it's catch-22. I don't know which way to take it, because you know I've got two girls. I'll use this analogy. I've got two girls. One of them, you know, does ballet, and if the Royal School of Ballet in London phoned me and said, "Do you want to bring her here?" then that's going to be better opportunities, better coaching, better training than you know Paul's ballet class down the school. So it's a funny one. You want the best players in the best clubs with the best facilities and the best coaching and opportunities. But coaching, again, me and Martin discuss it all the time. It's such a subjective game. You know, there is no one model which works for a player, and that's why it's great, and that's why there's all these talk shows and debates. There is no one model. You could find a model which has worked for 10 players. You get an absolute unbelievable talent. Try and use the same model, doesn't work. Why? Because you're dealing with people.
It's really interesting, because in this country we're always looking at adapting in the German system or the Brazilian system or whatever, and I think you're right. You just can't take it and say, all right, this is going to work here. Martin, I asked this question to both of you. Martin, Warren Joyce going to Wigan. How do you think Warren Joyce does at Wigan, mate?
I think he's got every opportunity to do well, given he's obviously, you know, going to a place like Wigan, he's going to need a little bit of backing financially. But Warren's a proven commodity, isn't he? I mean, a wonderful coach that did work wonders, and you know, Paul's worked with him. I really hope it works out. And you know, we know his talent, we know what he's got to bring. But again, it's got to be right person, right time, right place. You know, good coaches have gone to good teams, and it's just not worked out. So I think he does well. I don't think there's any. I think the club is in very, very good hands.
I give him huge credit. For me, this is what Giggs needs to do. Go take a job in the Championship and prove that you are capable of coaching at that level. Warren Joyce is, all right, didn't work for Brian Kidd, fine. Warren Joyce is taking a chance, going to a club where he has the benefit of he can pick off a couple of good United youngsters, bring them to Wigan. It's still in the north of England, still in Lancashire. Brilliant move for him. You work with him, Paul. What do you think? How do you think Warren Joyce will do it?
I've seen him operate. I've not worked next to him, but he's a no-nonsense football man, if that makes sense. He'd be great to interview because he'd tell you some stories of how the dynamics of the game have changed in the dressing room, even at U23 level, with these guys getting big contracts. And Martin said about, too much too soon. They're now dealing sometimes with millionaires and they haven't played a Premier League game for Manchester United or close to it. The dynamics of the game have changed. He's been through that transition. I think he deserves his shot. I think he does well. He's a football man, understands the game. He's paid his dues. And coming back to Giggs as well, I think you made a great point. For me, there's another model. There's another model. And it's not looking at other clubs. It's look at Ajax, right? Yeah. What they do. Dennis Bergkamp started coaching. Do you know his first coaching job was with the U9s at Ajax?
Yeah.
Learning the bottom up. He's going to be fast-tracked. I want ex-pros in the game of coaching because they've got the most knowledge, experience of the dressing room and what happens. The issue is playing and coaching are two separate things. They've got the knowledge base. They've got the foundation.
Exactly.
Now, how do we tease it out of them? And throwing them in at the deep end is not fair on them. It's not fair on the players they're working with. It's right. Understand. Let's do a season with the foundation phase. So that's U9 to U12. Do a season with the youth development phase. That's U13 to U16. Link into the first team. So you've got a 3-year apprenticeship. But flip it on its head. If Manchester United kids are getting coached by Ryan Giggs, what's that set to the players and parents? That's just motivating every time to rock up to training and impress. And we've got one of the most decorated players in world football here. What am I going to do in front of him?
Let me ask you before you go, Matt. Are academies overrated?
Manchester United, no, because you look on the opposition today. You got Danny Simpson and Danny Drinkwater in there. You got Richard Shawcross at start. You can name them. Some of the guys have got it right. Do they need 92 academies in England? No, not at all. The EPPP for me missed a trick in linking up clubs. So Manchester United as a Cat 1 academy could have been linked with Oldham and Bury. City could have been linked to Rochdale, and this could happen all around the country. You've got clear pathways, clear resources. It's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. But all it does is the justification for 92 football clubs to have an academy for me. No, they can be doing more work at the bottom end with grassroots and rec, building up locally and passing those players on. Because in a country the size of the UK, the talent isn't there for 92 professional teams to have academies. My opinion.
All right, Matt. Listen, always brilliant to have you, folks. This is Paul Bright. You can catch Paul on Twitter at Paul Bright Coach. Paul, of course, is the technical director of the magnificent coaching manual in the US. Paul will be back on BTP. He'll be doing his own coaching manual show on here. We'll have him on periodically on the United show. And if you've got questions, tweet them to us or tweet them to Paul on Twitter, and we'll happily ask him for you in the next couple of shows, or you can ask him directly. Paul, all the best, mate. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Phil. Thanks, Martin.
Cheers, Paul. Mate.
See you, mate. See you later.
Yes, folks, that was Paul Bright there. Lovely to have Paul on the show with us. Paul will be on quite often. Of course, Paul worked at Manchester United's Academy for 8 years, also worked at Everton, England. He coached the likes of Marcus Rashford, Jesse Lingard, what have you, at United's Academy. So always a brilliant resource for us to run things by and to get an insight into things that don't always make a headlines at Old Trafford and about what we have coming through. Some decent players coming through. Martin, Jose Mourinho doesn't always get the credit for playing people like Fosu Mensah. He's got young Tonazebe, of course, made his debut. He came on, made his debut for Mourinho, come on in the FA Cup. And there's a couple of other young lads that we've got in the first team as well, Rashford, who people genuinely concerned, will he play under Mourinho? I think he deserves a lot of credit, Martin. Let's go back. Go ahead, mate. Sorry, you have something to say on that?
He's never going to get the credit because the stigma is,
exactly.
When you spend money, it's you're spending money for sake of spending money, and you're not worried about our youth system. Well, what was it today? I mean, someone will tweet us. It's over 3,200 games now with an academy product in the squad.
Yeah.
So since 1939. So
I want to hang on. Oops. I want to get into something, Martin. that I want to talk about Jose Mourinho for a minute because I'm sick and tired of reading Kevin De Bruyne as some sort of justification for a question on Jose Mourinho. Talking about a guy that's won multiple European Cups, won in Porto, won the league in Portugal, won the league in Italy, took Inter Milan to a European Cup, won the European Cup in Inter Milan, won the league at Chelsea, won FA Cups, League Cups. He got United to the League Cup final at the first opportunity. He has them within a couple of points. What was it, 5 points of Spurs or something like that? Not far off. Obvious improvement over last season. This is a Manchester United team. He brought in 4 players this summer. Of those 4 players, I would say all of them have been a success. Pogba's improving. Mkhitaryan is now heavily improving. Ibrahimovic was a free transfer. Bailly's been brilliant. And 4 is about the threshold before you really start changing a complete dressing room. He is sitting here, January, says, I know exactly what I want this summer. Van Gaal dithered. Moyes dithered. We didn't know. Neither of them knew what they really wanted. Van Gaal would change his mind based on United's form. Oh, maybe I do need Ronaldo Sanchez. Maybe I don't. Jose Mourinho already knows what he wants. You have to be decisive in this job. Even if you're wrong, you have to be decisive. Any United fans can sit and moan. Oh, they're crap 20 minutes, started this poorly. And listen, what are you expecting? This is an incomplete Manchester United team. Of course they started poorly. They're not. This is a United team that needs so much work. But if you can't appreciate what you're seeing, and you want to sit and moan about getting Mourinho out, I can't disagree with almost every decision he's made.
Yeah, well, and I think this one today, that win today, we've already got more wins than we had last season. All right. Granted, we're in a position a little worse off than we were last season, but the league's got an awful lot better this year. The football we're playing is night and day. It's enjoy. We can actually sit through 90 minutes now, which is enjoyable. The De Bruyne thing. De Bruyne is a different player than he was when Jose had him. Lukaku is a different player than when Jose had him.
By the way, Lukaku hasn't proved him wrong on anything yet, Martin. I'd still let Lukaku go to top club.
Well, he scored an awful lot of goals for a young boy, but the consistency, again, he's young. The consistency's not there. Yeah. And does he score most of his goals against lower opposition? Probably.
Which, by the way, Lukaku wanted to leave the second time. Yeah. Martin. I interviewed Lukaku, right? Great kid, lovely lad, but it was him that wanted to leave the second time.
Well, it's rather like Juan Mata. People get this all twisted that, Mata, Jose didn't want him when he get rid of him. That's exactly the opposite. Actually, he did want him. But, there were certain circumstances there. One was the one that wanted to leave. So, another point. How many messages will we get, and how many notifications and how many tweets will start with no Martial today? Mm-hmm. Hey, how about the fact that we played some fantastic football and won 3-0? You can't do right for doing wrong. It's Martial's not playing because there's an issue with Martial from Monday to Friday. Why he doesn't play Saturday or Sunday. We don't see what goes on. If people want to come watch my sessions during the week, I get 5 days with my guys. If they want to then come and question my starting lineup because, hey, how come so-and-so's not playing? I said, well, did you watch him for 5 days? Did you watch the output? Well, no. I trust our manager 100%. And you know what? If Martial's not getting in that starting lineup, there's a reason for it. And Jose deserves every opportunity from our fans. He's done it. He's been there. He's proven. And enough said.
If Martial doesn't make it at Manchester United, it will be Martial's fault. It will not be Mourinho's fault. If Martial, it'll be exactly the same reason why Memphis Depay didn't make it. Look, talent gets you to Manchester United. After that, it's about what you do.
Yeah.
And Mourinho absolutely must set a consistent standard in that dressing room. And he's done it, to be fair, with Rooney. He's done it with everybody. Doesn't matter who you are. This is what I demand. And if you aren't capable of giving it to me, there's the door.
Yeah.
We said at the start of the season, Mourinho will phase Wayne Rooney out.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly what we said. What did he do? Phasing Wayne Rooney out. It was obvious, right? He was respectful to Rooney and how he's doing it. Rooney has accepted that he hasn't got a future at Manchester United. Rooney doesn't offer United anything anymore, right? He doesn't. He's not good enough consistently at the highest level to bring.
There's better. Maybe another. There's better players in his position.
Right.
Plain and simple.
Right. And so but with what he's doing, Martin, with Martial, who is a very talented kid, right? No question. And I want him to succeed. I want to see an Anthony Martial succeed at Manchester United. I want to see the best that he has to offer, because I think inside that kid is an exceptional player.
Wonderful talent.
But the bigger picture is Mourinho demanding that players have a winning mentality so that United don't become an Arsenal. So that they don't have tasty players that turn it on now and again, but in big games they fill their pants, right? And everybody knows how to beat United. You turn the game ugly, you'll beat United, because these players don't have the hunger, they don't have the desire, they don't have what it takes to be a winner. Jose Mourinho knows a winner 7 days a week. He knows what they look like. He knows how they should act. And Mourinho, people say, oh, you're criticizing people who criticize Mourinho, but you criticize Van Gaal. Listen, I never criticized Van Gaal or David Moyes until it was blatantly obvious everything was going wrong. And when I had spoken to people inside the football club who knew the situation and had legitimate concerns about both of them, Mourinho, to me, hasn't done anything wrong that would cause me to question him. And please, please, please don't throw Kevin De Bruyne at me.
Yeah, it's we get so used to success, people start looking for faults when there's not faults there.
It's embarrassing, Martin. Some of the comments from United fans.
Yeah.
I mean, we all moan with football fans, but some of it is ridiculous.
Yeah, well, why does Ashley Young come on today, the head of Martial? Ashley Young comes on as a reward for his commitment and desire. That's the only reason. By no means are you bringing Ashley Young on because you think Ashley Young is a better player than Anthony Martial. You're bringing him on as a reward and maybe a dig. And look, you work. You show me this level of consistency, the desire, the commitment. You'll find yourself on the pitch. And
Right. Martial could go to a PSG, turn out to be an exceptional player, and prove Mourinho wrong, right? But Mourinho has to deal with what he has right now, Martin.
Is that proving him wrong? That's not necessarily proving him wrong.
No, that's a fair point.
Because maybe he goes away somewhere else and realizes I got to pull my socks up here.
Right, exactly.
So even if he does, people go, oh well, we shouldn't let him go. We shouldn't, he shouldn't have got. Well, no, because you can only deal with what you have right now and the output that you're getting right now.
All right, if you've got a question for us, tweet us at Malachians, tweet Martin at M1 Work. We'll get to them before the end of the show. This is a live show. Or tweet at Beyond the Pitch. Drop us a question if you've got anything you want us to cover. We'll get there before the end of the show. Wayne Rooney, Martin, left out today. I haven't done any digging as to why.
Illness.
Supposedly
illness.
Supposedly illness. I have to say, the fact that we're questioning it very probably has to do with form, has to do with the fact that Mourinho looked at Leicester and felt, I have better options here. Look, the United won the game 3-0. Second half was much better than the first. Obviously, they're 2-0 up. First 20, 30 minutes, they weren't great. But Leicester was still in the game at that point. Once United killed the game, it opened up.
Yeah, new system, getting used to that new system, new formation. You wouldn't read too much into that. A lot of big tackles flying around. I saw slightly different United. There was an aggression there. There was a steal there that wasn't there. And I picked up on something today that just made me think a little bit. Did you see when was it Mahrez took the free kick and it went through the wall? And De Gea came running out and absolutely bollocked Herrera and I
didn't see it, no.
I've not seen that before from him. I've not seen it hasn't happened, but obviously the camera was in the right place, right time. You wouldn't have seen that 5 years ago. It just shows the maturity of the guy now, and he's a senior player in the squad now, and it's really good to see.
Best goalkeeper in the world.
Yes,
but Martin, look, the only team that have made the Premier League look easy this season is Chelsea, right? Liverpool struggling. Leicester murdered City at the King Power, right? Vardy scored a hat trick. We saw City earlier in the day, scrape a 2-1 win against Swansea, right? We saw Arsenal get beat against Chelsea. We saw Liverpool lose to Hull. Um, I hate to say this because it's somewhat the cliche, but there are no easy games in the Premier League. It's not. You're not going to go out and absolutely, as much as we all want to see it because we're all United fans, but you're not going to see a United team or anybody for that matter go out and absolutely destroy somebody the first 20, 30 minutes, swashbuckling football, attacking down the left, attacking down the right, murdering teams. We all want to see it, but it's not realistic. And plus, United aren't there yet. So
no, we're a ways from being the finished article. I mean, again, we touched on it.
Exactly. Everybody knows
we got
that.
to figure out how best to use Pogba, what our best formation is on any given day. But it's a strange old league. I mean, you look again. What's that? 15 unbeaten in the league now, I believe. Yeah, we'll hear all the opposing fans are all going to give us, "Oh, you're still sixth, you're still sixth." Yeah, but we're 5 points off second place now.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. We're a win away from really being in that top four. And you look at the next three home fixtures. Oh, so next three league fixtures: Watford, Bournemouth at home, Southampton away. Certainly the first two are very winnable games. And again, those top teams playing each other again. If there's been one thing that's been disappointing is we've not capitalised recently on other teams dropping points. That's why today it was win at all costs, and extra added bonus was playing some wonderful football at times.
Yeah, absolutely. And Martin, I want to ask you about Marcus Rojo, because at the start of the season, I wanted rid of him, right? I felt that he was a below average defender, distribution terrible, always a mistake in him, always someone that's unnecessarily tugging shirts in the box, giving away stupid fouls. I've since changed my mind to the point where I think he wouldn't be a bad squad player. I wouldn't play him at left back because I think he's a liability at left back. I think his distribution of the ball's not good enough at left back, but I think he'd be a decent squad player. When you look at that United team, who would you say you're going to get rid of this summer?
Well, I think we're in agreement that Rooney's gone.
Rooney's gone. Rooney will go this summer. Ashley Young will go.
Ashley Young will go this summer. I believe Darmian will probably go this summer.
Yeah.
And that may be it. I think Small will do enough to stay in there, and obviously a lot will depend on if we bring does the Lindelof thing come back, and Phil Jones's fitness. Obviously, I mean, real unfortunate.
And Phil Jones stays.
Phil Jones, he's been wonderful. Phil Jones has been absolutely superb.
Rojo,
yeah, I mean, I would say Rojo
doesn't get enough credit for it, by the way, Martin.
Oh, he's made an absolute wonder. I mean, he's kept him fit. I mean, he should get credit for that, for keeping Jones fit, for sure. Made a good centre back out of Marcus Rojo. I mean, that partnership, I mean, he was stumbled upon, injury, suspension, Cup and African Cup of Nations, but they were absolutely superb together, Rojo and Jones.
So,
I mean,
I don't think you'll see Januzaj back at the club.
I've counted Januzaj. I don't think very few first team players go out on loan from Man United and come back.
Yeah, unless it's a short term loan, like a Beckham Scholes type loan.
But even that was very early on in his career. I mean, that's really. I mean, Beckham really hadn't broke through to the first team at that point. And marginally, Januzaj played a lot of games.
Yeah, how has Andreas Pereira done this season?
From all accounts, looks like he's enjoying his football, and the little bits I've seen about him.
2 goals in 18 games for Granada. I have to say, I haven't seen any of them this season. So I can't pass judgment on him.
The 2 goals he scored are crackers as well, by the way. It looks like he's enjoying his football. Will he come back? I don't know. I mean, the signing of Mkhitaryan, he's going to be a tough one. I don't know where Pereira fits. You know,
I see. Just reading about. Pereira's a good kid, Martin. I don't see him coming back to United. I think
certainly not this summer.
No, I think United will look to sell him. So for me, guaranteed to leave will be Ashley Young will leave.
Mhm.
Darmian will leave. Januzaj will leave. Andres Pereira will leave. Rooney will leave. The other ones that are in the danger zone, Luke Shaw's in the danger zone. I think he may get to stay simply because Mourinho just won't want to make that many changes. But you're talking about a £30 million defender here, Martin. Also, United will have to be careful with their English quota. But Luke Shaw is in a very, very dangerous position, and it wouldn't shock me to see United go out and look to sign another left back. Mourinho has no confidence in him, and Dilly Blind is another one that's on the cusp of danger. I think Carrick gets another year, but will get greatly reduced playing time next season because I think United will go out and sign the kid from Monaco, Bakayoko.
Bakayoko or Saul Niguez, I will
Yeah,
think come
yeah,
in.
yeah, yeah, yeah. These are two kids United are looking at. The only thing with Saul Niguez is if United sign Griezmann,
Griezmann, that's true.
I would be surprised if Atletico Madrid sold Griezmann and Niguez to United.
In the same
In
window.
the same right.
Yeah.
So unless they forced it through, but Martin, here's the thing: Mourinho has said, "I know who I want this summer."
Mm-hmm.
So what we're not going to get this summer is the bungling nonsense that we got before in every other season. Ed Woodward now knows this is who I've got to work on, and there's already got to work with Griezmann, right? Everything's agreed in principle with Griezmann, right? The wages, they know what they need to pay for him. Griezmann, and we've been saying this for how long?
Yeah,
We're not bad guessers for frauds. We should get one of them tents, in the crystal ball and start charging a tenner, because somehow we can guess the future. So United have already got to work on what it is they want. If they want the right back at Benfica, Semedo, Benfica's a selling club, they'll sell him. So, or Lindelof. So what's going to happen is when United come to the US in the summer, come out to LA, all those players were going to be in place. It's not a World Cup summer. It's not a European Championship summer. So Mourinho's going to have those players from the start of pre-season to work with to integrate them. So that come the start of the season, you hit the ground running. United had to wait in Pogba. Make no mistake about it. United are already planning now for the summer, and it was right that they didn't buy in January. Some signing they weren't sure about, because United have been stuck with players they can't offload with signing players that were either pushed on them by an agent or last minute or panic because of indecisiveness by Moyes or by Van Gaal. We don't have that anymore, Martin.
No, and nailing those targets early,
Mm-hmm.
getting them in early, having that full summer to work with them, that full pre-season. It's just, you can hit the ground running then in September or August,
Mm-hmm.
September. Like you're saying, this whole deadline day nonsense just drives me crazy. I don't understand how clubs do so much activity on the last day of the window when you have so much time to wrap up a deal. Another one for you, our friend Estelle at On a Madness, Juan Mata. Is he there next year?
Good question. Really good question.
Yeah, it's a good one.
I think with Mata, there's two things concern Mourinho. Doesn't defend well, so he's a bit of a liability. But to me, most forward players don't defend well.
Yeah.
It's not natural to them. Mentally, they switch off, and if you really don't want attacking players, tracking players back in the box, that's how you give penalties away because they can't tackle. But I think more of a concern for Mourinho is Mata's lack of pace. You need wide players to have pace, Martin. I think
certainly if he's looking more into that 4-4-2 or 4-4-1-1. But
in Mata's defense, he's United's second highest goal scorer. I think that was his fifth today. He always chips in with close to 10 goals a season
and gets big goals. Scores big goals in big games when we need them.
Yeah, he's done that all right. He's missed a couple of good chances in the last few games. But want to give a special mention to the lovely Sally Reese, 13 Reese, who always watches our show and always gives us lovely comments. Thanks, Sal. Thanks, Estelle. Good question here from Man United Trooper, asking, how can United evolve to the best team? What 2-3 changes do you think are essential for United to do that? Look, they have to get an alternative to Ibrahimovic. I will give City a lot of credit. So City go out and sign this kid Gabi Jesus,
This kid,
right?
this kid's going to be better than Neymar.
Yeah. Well,
I'm saying that right now. This kid is 19 years old.
yeah.
This guy is a wonderful,
But
wonderful.
one of the things I like this kid. I really do. He looks fantastic. But one of the things that we do really badly is we hype kids up quickly, especially if they come in and score goals. We saw this with Martial. But young Gabby Hughes looks fantastic talent. You have to get an alternative to your main goal scorer, someone that's
Yeah,
going to chip in with goals. Um, it's so United, like we've just said, Griezmann I think is crucial. So Rooney goes out, Griezmann comes in. It's going to be interesting to see how United, and obviously they'll have given this a lot of thought, how they integrate Pogba and Griezmann, because France have a hard time doing this. Mourinho's a much better manager than Didier Deschamps. But if there's one player I wish United had have signed last season, N'Golo Kante.
I said it, didn't I? I said
I wish that I broke the bank for him,
way
Martin.
going back. I said that was the one player I wanted, and I think
32 million. 32
if
million.
you're asking about changing a dynamic and changing how we become top of the tree and how we get up there, it's that all action. He runs 13K a game. I mean, he is absolutely everywhere. You watching that Arsenal game, he was phenomenal. I mean, the guy.
It would have meant Herrera was out. But to me, as much as I love Herrera,
but I mean,
Kante is different class, Martin.
Kante brings more. Kante brings more to what we would need. I mean, we're going to need a replacement for Carrick. When you do replace him, he's going to have to be a lot more agile. It's not just the game's evolving, so he can't just sit in front of that back four anymore and spray balls around. You've got to bring that little bit more.
Anyone that watches French football, drop us a note. Let us know what does Bakayoko like. I've probably I haven't seen Monaco in years since Morientes played or anything. But I have no idea what this kid's like, whether he's talented or not. So I've no, but I will say yes, Martin. I trust Mourinho and his scouting. He very, very rarely gets it wrong in the transfer market. So Bakayoko is, from what I understand, is a young defensive midfielder. And that's exactly what United need. Someone that reads the game well, holds well. And a conversation I have with Danny Higginbotham quite often, Martin, is he feels that all Premier League teams should play with two holding defensive midfielders, which case United will need another one. The squad is relatively thin, as it is, with selling to Pants Netherlands. So I don't think more will go out than what comes in. I think it'll be relatively
like for like
close. Yes. So this might end up saving a couple of careers this summer, Martin. This may end up saving the likes of Luke Shaw. It may end up saving Martial. But if you can get an informed Martial with the right attitude, if we'd had that against Liverpool, United would have beat Liverpool up against a 19-year-old kid making his full debut. If we can get an informed Martial, hungry, right attitude that it takes to succeed at a top club on the left, lightning quick, get someone on the right, maybe Mkhitaryan, and Griezmann, Ibra down the middle. The attacking potential, the way they could interchange, Martin, Mkhitaryan can come in, play on the wing, come inside. Griezmann links, can play as an out-and-out striker, the false nine. Ibrahimovic gives you that presence up front. There's so much variety in that forward line. That's frightening.
There's a lot of fluidity as well, and you saw glimpses of that today. With Rashford being able to play inside, outside, Mkhitaryan and Mata being able to float in between the two, in the 10 and the 7, I suppose. Ibra likes to drop in that hole, so add Griezmann to that mix. I mean, that's really fluid, and we need a proven goal scorer. You can't. All right, Ibra's got is that 20 now for Ibra, 15 in the league. Oldest player to ever score 15 goals in the Premier League, by the way.
Yeah.
Can he do it again next year? I mean, at some point you've got to say you can't be relying on 20 goals from 36 years. For 36, you've got to have somebody chipping in with a dozen or so. And Info Martial does that. Marcus Rashford at 20 years old, maybe he starts of, finding the back of the net on a more consistent basis.
But also, Martin, with Ibrahimovic, you prepare for his exit before it actually happens. That's a smart thing to do. You don't wait until he leaves. You don't do what you did with Vidic. You don't do what you did with Ferdinand. You don't do what you did with Evra. Let them leave and then try to replace him. United should have been replacing all three of them the year before they left. Right?
And he's already
I know that
tried
was the season Moyes came in.
No, we already tried to do that with Valencia. Yeah. We brought that in. Now it's not worked out, but the idea is right. Get him in.
Exactly. The idea is right.
And let's start thinking about, let's be proactive about this and not reactive. So,
but Darmian wasn't United's first choice right back, Martin. He ended up that ended up happening. I can't remember now off the top of my head who United missed out on as the right back. But it wasn't Darmian. Darmian ended up becoming someone they went to after missing out on their number one target. This is why you must do it now. And I think, in all fairness to Woodward, who was criticised heavily in his first season at United, he's learned, improved, and was always had business acumen. But in any job, it takes time to understand the nuances and the subtleties. And I think you're dealing with a much shrewder Ed Woodward. You saw that with how United are selling players now, and so hang on a second. So anyway, all right, mate. We'll leave it there. You got anything else before we go?
No, I think we got it pretty much covered there.
Okay, mate. Listen, folks, thanks very much for watching the show. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for all your tweets, all your messages. Always appreciate it. And appreciate you subscribing to the channel. If you're on Facebook, please like the Beyond the Pitch Facebook page, the River Airwell page. If you're looking for another podcast to download, there's look at Stel on a Madness. He has a brilliant show called Shoot the Defense. Some superb guests, well worth a listen. And finally, once again, a shout out to the young Jerry Murray's nephew, who is recovering from bone cancer, who lost a leg, and young kids doing exceptionally well. Thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Thanks for subscribing to the channel on YouTube. And thanks to Paul Bright from the Coaching Manual. Martin, all the best, mate.
All the best, mate. See you soon.
Cheers, Martino. Thanks, man. Bye.
Bye.